Okay, we're back. We're live. We're Think Tech Talks. We're doing Community Matters because it does. With Scott Zimmerman, who's an MD, and he's also the founder and CEO of Xola, Xola.com, out of what, San Francisco, Scott?
That's right. Thank you, Jay.
So welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. I think it's great to be able to talk to somebody like you because Hawaii is interested in innovative companies and startups and venture capital, all those things. We used to, focus entirely on internet technology. Now I think it's a little broader these days, as it may be necessary for us. But to be able to find you and talk to you, I think it's valuable to a lot of people in Hawaii, especially given our tourist economy. So welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Jay. I really appreciate you having me, and I fully acknowledge how big tourism and your natural assets there feature in Hawaii, and how important this is to your local industry there. So I'm honored to be on your show.
Well, I think it's what touched me about hearing about you is that you're involved in a sort of second life, in another chapter. That one day you made your mind up you were going to go and do something you really wanted to do, and you were going to use your skills as a doctor and try to apply them to the world. A lot of doctors have trouble doing that. Apply them to the world of entrepreneurship. And it's it's encouraging to anybody to see that you did that you jogged, that you had a what do they call it, a change in your life, a pivot in your life, and became an entrepreneur in something completely unrelated to medicine, and yet somehow your medical skills will apply. So I wanted to ask you first to tell us about the transition for you, your story.
Well, so it's it's been a long journey and a very demanding one, and I think that if there's anything that's just been the test, it's been how rigorous it's been to get through medicine and to develop a depth of knowledge in a totally unrelated field alongside that. How I started, it wasn't just that I was moving through medicine for 8 years and getting my training, and then all of a sudden I decided, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, and then I left. That's not what happened. So I was, moving through medical school as well as my training, and in my second year of medical school, I decided to learn how to program. I wasn't. While medical school is very demanding, I still had that creative itch, if you will. And in software development meant to me an opportunity to both build something, bring your ideas to reality, and it was also rigorous in its own right, and offered me a creative outlet. And it was alongside my medical training that I learned how to code, and I started building applications.
So when on that continuum did you get the idea of doing Xola itself? For example, I wonder if your coding at first was somehow in aid of medicine, and at some point you decided, well, I like to go travel. I like to do these, adventure travel things. Why don't I focus on that, because that's what I like best? But I guess the question is, how could you integrate coding with medical school unless by using it somehow in your medical education? Did you?
No, I did not. It's interesting. Prior to medicine, I'd studied in undergraduate economics, and I was very interested in poverty alleviation and economic development. And my first 2 years out of school, I had worked on Wall Street in tax policy meets Wall Street for the very short story. You don't want to hear the long one.
I guess you didn't like it too much.
But suffice it to say that I've had an abiding interest in essentially building tools or harnessing leveraged instruments to change the world around us for the better. Software to me is actually a neighboring concept to tax policy, as abstract as that might seem. It represents a tool that other people can use, and it could benefit the greater community insofar as you build something of value. Now, how does that relate to tourism? How does that relate to medicine? There are a lot of threads here that don't immediately connect. I entered medicine. Let's put medicine aside for a second. I've traveled a lot. I've traveled all over the world. I've spent maybe over 3 years in other countries at various points in time, and noticed how tourism is a powerful vehicle for poverty alleviation and economic development. So now you see the undercurrent here of interest in economic development as tourism relates to it. So digging deeper, I found that the United Nations is keenly interested in this as well, and this is now dated back to 2000, 2002, 3, 4. The observation that tourism is one of the largest exports in over 80% of developing countries. So that is to say that tourism can be harnessed as a vehicle for economic development. Now go down to the community level, and we've all seen this as we travel to other countries, how people, sometimes without even a high school degree, can gain employment through serving as a tour guide or a tour operator. And then as that evolves and they become more successful, they build meaningful companies around it. And tourism is the rising tide that floats all boats. So we're not talking about just the one-person tour guide as the bulk of the economy. It actually, there are many companies in communities around the world that together represent a meaningful part of that GDP. So that was an observation that I had, and in evolution saw that they lacked the tools in order to gain access to the market and actually thrive as a business. So this is back again in like 2004 and 5 that I became very engaged in this. And then I thought to myself, well, actually at the time I had a couple co-founders that mentioned that are worth mentioning here because it's not just a one-person show. So my co-founder Anush and I had built together a software that at the time was more of a marketplace solution that would help these guides get more business. So we started, and I'm in medical school and he's in his job, and together we built this marketplace software, which was more of a discovery tool to help travelers discover the local tour guides. Mm-hmm. Now this is in an era that was prior to Airbnb. It was very early, and I think that model has a lot of challenges. But what it did do is it validated a lot of things. One, that thousands of companies around the world at that time came flocking to that marketplace to register with the hopes of getting access to more customers. Mm-hmm. And so, over the course of, so we had built this together, and then over the course of the subsequent 3 years, had over 4,000 businesses that were adopting that platform, with over 8,000 experiences across the world. That heavily informed, and this is alongside our day jobs, and we didn't secure any funding for it. It was a side project, and this is a long story. But what we learned in doing that is we learned a whole lot about local businesses in different cultures and different economies, and what are their challenges, what are their problems, and why is it that they're coming to us? And there were a lot of assumptions that we initially had that were accurate and others that weren't. But maybe I should pause there and just say that that project brought all the pieces together, building software for these businesses at that kind of time, and we learned a ton of information from that. So.
Yeah, so by that time you'd established the ability to write a good website and to have the back office behind the website and do the accounting and so forth. So you were well on your way to Xola even then, yeah?
Well, so that was a different undertaking, and I would say that heavily informed what we're doing at Xola. What that project represented was a lot of validation on the supply side in many respects. However, it prompted us to investigate these businesses more thoroughly. and to maybe distance ourselves a little bit from the consumer side, which consumers have preferences that vary greatly, and it's difficult to even understand all of the complexity around consumer dynamics. So the net of that is that enterprise heavily informed us about what it is that we're building at Xola. Totally different company. It's what enabled us to get funding, Anush and myself. So with the validation and the traction that we had from that undertaking, we were able to secure funding here in Silicon Valley, and then with that, those resources, we're able to wipe the slate clean and build a fresh new product and really focus on supply chain.
So what about the original one? Is it still in existence, or is the one you're working on, Xola, now? Is that the only one?
We pretty much sidelined it, and we are focusing exclusively on Xola. And I'd say that what Xola is, just to introduce, because it may not make a whole lot of sense to talk about what the prior project did.
Sure.
Since we did set that aside.
Why don't you describe it?
Okay, so Xola, and again, that's Xola.com. Xola is a whole back office and online booking system and distribution system for businesses who offer activities, experiences, tours, classes, businesses of that nature. And so what we ultimately do is we provide all of the software tools so that these businesses can book their customers through any method of payment more effectively. They can manage their schedules with their rosters and their guides. They can manage their inventory, all of their listings, as well as their customers, the entire history of all their customers, and then business intelligence around the entire performance of the last year. With that, now we're essentially, we're the system where these companies can take bookings on the phone through a little widget that drops right into their website. We also have distribution partners so that they can get bookings through some of our consumer channels.
So they can embed the booking system, the booking engine, if you will, right in their own website. So
Right.
You don't dominate their website. You just give them a little widget there that sits in the middle of it.
Correct. And it's actually, it literally takes us, a minute to drop it in and get you going. It's a JavaScript-based widget, so it's as easy as installing Google Analytics. You just drop in that widget right in your footer and one line of code, and then you're up and running, and you can take bookings right from your website. And that's just one channel, right? These businesses can have bookings right on their website. They can do it in person with swipe and pay, right in person, or over the phone. And then if they have affiliate or referring parties, they can get bookings through those channels as well. And we manage the whole back end, if you will.
So just before we go on further into it, I just want to get one point. My understanding is that your medical training somehow helped you do this. How?
Well, that's a
neurology. Neurology maybe teaches you about computer programming. What?
Yeah, that's going to be a tougher one to answer. I would say that, broadly speaking, I would say that I had no expectation that medicine would ever apply or help me in this context as an entrepreneur or in software development. And so initially, as I'm making this transition, I thought that is a knowledge base that just won't apply. That was untrue. And actually, I learned this over the course of the last 2 years with my co-founder building the company. And that is this. Startups are, especially software startups, it starts as a hypothesis. You have a lot of assumptions about what you think needs to be built. You have some observation and validation of the things that you're planning to build, that they're relevant. Much like in medicine, you, as a doctor, you may be presented with someone who has a problem, yet neither party knows what that problem is. And so you start with a hypothesis. So you start by observing and asking questions to further understand and characterize the problem. And then if you have a correct understanding, or you're on the right path, then you begin to craft a game plan to further define it, to validate it, and then to treat that problem. Now, in the context of medicine, to finish that point, medicine is a very, I would say, a very demanding profession that requires a level of rigor around that in order to be a doctor who makes accurate diagnoses and puts a game plan in motion to tackle the problem. If you're treating the wrong disease, then you're potentially harming the patient and you're missing it altogether. Software companies, and this is very common here in Silicon Valley, you look around and you see a lot of very smart people building solutions to maybe a problem that's not quite, they haven't quite identified the problem accurately, or worse yet, they're building solutions to problems that don't exist. We've all, if you've ever built software in your life, we all know what that's like. You think, boy, the world would be such a greater place if only this tool existed. And then you build that tool, and then no one uses it, and you realize that you really didn't have the correct hypothesis. And so, a lot of you could say a lot of people have built companies around problems that don't exist or the wrong problems. And I think that having done that in the past with other applications I've built, I reflect on my experience in medicine and realize that I actually approached this software company a lot more thoughtfully about first deeply understanding the problems that we're addressing. And then only then can you begin to craft a solution of value.
Yeah, in a kind of partnership with the patient. And the patient in this case is the travel company that you're trying to do business with. Scott, let me take a minute for a break, okay? That's Scott Zimmerman, M.D. He's also the CEO of Xola, Xola.com. This is Think Tech Talks. I'm Jay Fidell. We're talking about community matters because it does. We'll be right back. Castle and Cooke, Hawaii. Investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics. Empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone, bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Shidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including Think Tech. Okay, we're back. Think Tech Talks. I'm Jay Fidell on Community Matters with Scott Zimmerman, M.D., who's the CEO of Xola.com. And we're talking about having a second life in software development and in trying to find that special combination of elements that bring it all together in a place in the market where the market will take you. And sounds like he has done that. I'll give you my reaction at looking at your website, Xola.com. It's really simple. You can find everything that you want, all the questions that you might have in your mind. They're all answered like in one page. And then there's a number of videos. Many of them are like testimonial videos by your clientele. There's some videos without any words at all, just music, just showing you things. And each one of them is laden with lots of message to the effect that, yes, you can enjoy this kind of adventure tourism business, and we will help you. We will let you perform exactly what you want to do in doing the business, but you don't have to do the back office because we do that for you. And that's very enticing. And as I was telling you during the break, I think there's a huge market, both here in Hawaii and elsewhere, of these kinds of businesses going forward. And it's good and healthy for everybody involved. Gee whiz, And the barrier, may I say, it seems to me, the barrier to the development of these businesses here and elsewhere is exactly what you're offering, the ability to take reservations, to do the bookings, to do the accounting. So I think, one effect you're going to have is that you will encourage the development of these businesses here in the U.S. and elsewhere. But how did you put that together? I mean, it's a work of simplicity, and the videos are really nice videos, and the message is so clear and focused and encouraging. How did you put that together?
Well, thank you. Jay, it's been a passion of ours to build a product that makes all these things that are actually quite complex very simple. And I think that the back office reservations and customer management and booking and scheduling and the accounting and all of the things that come with running a business are actually and it's an ocean of work. It's mountains of work for these businesses. And so how do you make all of those pieces and parts fit together in a solution that's elegant, that's easy to use, that's intuitive, and just make your life a breeze? And that's been our primary goal in building out Xola. And it hasn't been easy. I'll tell you, it's been our whole team working together diligently over the last 2.5 years to really build a product, work with our customers, continue working with our customers, and just crafting a solution that just feels easy to them.
Well, so I saw the place where you sign up, and in fact, I signed up, but then we had to start the show. I never continued beyond that. But it struck me that a lot of what you do for your customers by this website is to tailor the services you offer them to their specific situations. And I wonder if you do that, by some automated technique, with filling out a computer form, a website form, or whether you just talk to them. I had the sense, maybe because you left your phone number on the front end, and so few companies do that these days, that you would actually talk to them and help them design their situation. Tell me how it works once you get past, the front page.
Well, so we like to have a more personal approach to it, that there are humans here behind that software. And that certainly is the case. That's how we've built and maintained our software. How it works is this. Right now in our current state, it's easy to build a registration form and just have people self-serve. But what we really want is to have a personal touch, have our customers dial in if that's what they feel more comfortable doing, or just filling out the sign-up form. We gain a better understanding of their business at that time, and also their business needs. And then we can help get their account set up, and we can literally do this in the span of a couple hours just to get their account set up and get everything rolling. But yeah, it's a highly flexible system. We serve anyone from helicopter tour companies to sailing companies, brewery tours, classes, bicycle tours, surfing lessons. I mean, it can span the gamut. So we generally like to meet the people coming in and really get an understanding of their business needs, their priorities, and their problems, and then we move forward with a pretty clear game plan.
Okay, so you got to tailor the sign-up form for the business and exactly how the business is run. But they always say when you put a good website on a business, it changes the business, sometimes profoundly. And I'll bet that a lot of these small operators, and that's what you seem to be specializing in, small operators, sort of come up to a whole new level when they start rationalizing, making rational their model and their way of doing business. All of a sudden, it gets much more efficient and profitable simply because the website has been, included.
Absolutely, and I would say, as a note, we serve businesses that are quite large. In fact, we just brought on a customer serving over 100,000 customers a year. That's a lot of guests that they have to serve.
And that's in the tourism business.
In the tourism business, right? Yeah. And Hawaii certainly knows what that's like. There are many. We're even working with a company out there called Extended Horizons in Maui. Great scuba diving shop as well. And so, we serve companies that are very sophisticated and have very sophisticated needs. all the way down to very small businesses that may have less pressing needs. So we are a robust enough system to handle large companies. We also like to make that accessible to small companies.
Well, what about something that's off the path of tourism? Most of the things that are on your website and that we're talking about now seem to be in the area of tourism, and certainly that's the motivating feature. Your comment about travel and how it engages you and so. But what about a restaurant? What about a restaurant who has to make bookings all day long? But it's not a prepaid kind of thing, right? It's just you want to make sure you get a seat. Or an event of some kind where you're trying to sell hundreds, a concert, say. Or in the case of Think Tech Hawaii, suppose we wanted to sell, corporate videos. When somebody come down and do a video about his business, and and we wanted to have a booking system that would be self-operating, sort of like what you're describing in the context of these adventure tours. Is this possible, or is that outside your existing software?
Well, I'd say that, at first glance, you'd say that, booking can, a lot of businesses of different types, like restaurants, for example, as you put it, need a booking system. There are great software companies out there that serve those needs. We do not. Say, for example, OpenTable is a great software company that is providing real-time booking for those restaurants. And so that's one software company that deeply understands that problem and has built a great solution around it. And if I were, I would recommend that restaurants, if they are looking for a solution like that, would turn to a company like OpenTable. That said, so where does Xola begin and where does it end? We essentially are a company that handles booking, a whole back office booking system for those who provide services as their primary business. So those are tours in this case. They generally have employees that provide those services that they need to manage. So they oftentimes have tour guides that they need to assign to certain trips, or it might be a pilot flying a certain flight at a certain time. And then also businesses that have fixed inventory or fixed assets or resources that are needed to provide that service. For example, to go on the sailing outing, you need those sailboats, or a helicopter tour, you need the helicopters. So generally you need those people that need to manage their schedules, they need to manage employees, and they need to manage, and some may or may not have that problem, but there are companies that need to manage fixed inventory as well. So on a very abstract level, those are the problems that we solve. But to speak to your point earlier, when you solve all of those problems in one software suite, and now we are powering their website as well as their back office and distribution, that is a very powerful solution that can not only help you operate your business more effectively, but also help you grow your business.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay, I have many questions for you, but we're going to take a break first. That's Scott Zimmerman, M.D., also CEO of Xola.com. Here you are on Think Tech Talks on a given Monday on Community Matters. I'm Jay Fidell. We'll be right back. Aloha, I'm Jay Fidell. This is Think Tech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, Think Tech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is Think Tech. I'm Jay Fidell. Mahalo. This is Think Tech Talks. I'm Jay Fidell, talking about community matters, because it does, with Scott Zimmerman M.D. and CEO of Xola.com, which does bookings in tourism and which could be of great interest in Hawaii, because we have tourism and we are reliant on tourism, and in many ways tourism is not fully developed here. But before we get to that, and I would like to cover that in the last part of the show, I would like to ask my customary question now as to what the challenges are. Where are the footfalls in this kind of thing? These businesses have a lot of moving parts. They must have a lot of moving parts. They have certain risks. They have risks in the resources. They have risks in the staff. They have risks in the physical operations. And certainly they have risks in business. So where have you found the problems and challenges to be, Scott?
Well, I think probably the greatest challenge, which I believe we've overcome, is building a very robust piece of software that it's expensive to do, yet offering it to businesses at a very affordable, accessible price. And so we understand that when you're serving so many different types of businesses, they'll have different margins, and they'll have different, some will have cash to spend, and while others will be watching every dime that goes out the door. And so, our goal as a company, our ethos as a company, is to really have our technology democratize the space. And that means finding pricing that is accessible to all businesses of all sizes, and still be a profitable and viable company that people can count on and be reliable. So that's been a challenge, but we've, as I had suggested earlier, that we've spent the last several years really working hard to deliver on building out a software solution that can do that and offer it at a very accessible price. So we have subscription prices for larger customers that have greater needs, and that those are different subscription buckets. Or if you're a very small business, we have just a pay-as-you-go, no contracts needed. You can just come in and use our software as needed. So we really have, I think, found a sweet spot there in overcoming that barrier.
But how does that work? In the case of the subscription, I suppose I pay you a certain dollar amount per month, depending on whatever the parameters are, say in terms of how many subscriptions, how many people book. But then you're collecting the money, right? You are collecting whatever credit card or PayPal, whatever the method of payment is, and then you're going to send that to me, or you're going to hold it. How does that work?
Yeah. So what we do is we provide a system that allows you to collect payment via any form of payment. So if your reservationist is taking bookings in person, by credit card, cash, or check, or other forms of payment, we can collect by any method of payment and provide the tools for you to do so. In the case that you're charging credit cards or debit cards, we provide the payment processing to pass on to you a very competitive rate. And generally speaking, we can match it or beat it in most cases. Mm-hmm. So, and in doing so, we process and we hold things, the payment in escrow in the case that you want us to do that. There are a lot of booking workflows around credit card, moving the money that we do, and we make that very easy. So, for example, let's say a guest books over the phone for a flight, let's say a flight. You can take the credit card information and reserve the payment, but not process the card. And then when the person comes in, you process the card the day of. Let's say you don't want to suffer any, you don't want to lose your credit card transaction fees in the case that it's a windy day and you have to cancel the flight. Mm-hmm. So that's a very important use case, for example. In other cases, you can have auto processing where if someone books over your website, and you can either accept or decline the payment as you want, and at the time of accept or decline, it's processed. The money comes in at that time, or you can approve it later. Now, it's held in escrow. We're processing the payment. So now let's say that customer calls to increase the number of guests or decrease or cancel the booking. All of that can be done in one click of the button, and then it either refunds the card on file, or it adds an additional charge, or refunds a little bit to the card on file.
I was going to ask you that very question. So that this is adjustable. It's not like you're only dealing with flat payments, in advance. This can be a flat payment and then adjusted, or maybe it can be an amount not yet determined until a certain point in the customer experience.
That's right. And there's so many workflows. And if there's any destination in the U.S. that understands that, it's Hawaii. I'm in full appreciation of how mature the market is in terms of referring partners, hotel concierge services, all of that. And so moving money is very nuanced. We have deposit workflows, so you can take down a down deposit for large groups and then collect the remaining balance by a different method of payment at a different point in time. There's referral channel tracking. There are a lot of different nuances to tracking all of your bookings and where they're coming from and how you're collecting payment.
So there's no setup charge for this. I take it you guys you'll consult with me, you'll do the setup as necessary, and you have the tools, and maybe sometimes you have to even write new code in order to have the program comport with my particular operation. Am I right about that? Or does the work you do in, say, a difficult situation, one perhaps that is a little off the path, is that something you charge me for?
So it's free setup, and and part of why it's free is it takes us very little time to get you up and running. Actually, we're finding that most business owners, when they do sign up, we walk them through how to set up their first listing, and they generally like to take control at that point where they can input all the language that they want, the pricing, the custom schedules. So all those tools are in place. We don't have to build anything there. It's very easy to get set up. And literally, we sort of jokingly have thought about introducing a setup fee of the price of a cup of coffee, because that's how long it takes us to get ready. So we should say it's free. It costs you a cup of coffee. We'll get a coffee and we'll get it done.
So where are the challenges for you? I mean, you run into situations where, your entrepreneur who's trying to set up this business is really not up to it, or that he makes some profound mistakes going into it, and how do you handle that?
So is this sort of cautionary note to all entrepreneurs of getting into a business, or is it specifically
where it tends to have a negative effect on you? Where you're in a partnership with him now. He's your client, your customer, and you're trying to keep up with him, and he's making mistakes. What are your challenges to deal with that?
And my customer, meaning like a small business, a tourism company, is that right? Yes. Okay. So in the case, there are some challenges, any service provider or company offering a service to another will face. And I think that I'll start by saying that there's just unfailing dedication that we have to our customers. And so I think that every business relationship that we form, it always begins with trust. And because you're never going to there's no such thing as a perfect piece of software, and we know that, and we don't try to hide that there may be things that come up that's a little bit of friction, or it doesn't quite work the way you want it, that kind of thing. And I think that first and foremost, it begins with trust, and there's a good degree of confidence heading into this, because it's a relationship, adopting a technology and working together as companies. But then down the road, let's say you confront challenges together. And thankfully, all of our customers have been wonderful to work with. They've been delightful as they run into problems or challenges. They communicate those to us. And when they do, we're up at 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. alike. They know that we're available. And so together we'll identify the problems, we'll identify the urgency and the priority. Sometimes it's a critical one, a blocker, or it's I wish I had this, or something for consideration. We quickly go through triage and understanding what we need to prioritize and build. And then, as a company, we have a very strong adherence to agile development. And what that means in software speak is that we build code every single day. We deploy it to our live server. So changes are always happening. And so these updates, we quickly identify any issues that arise, and we get right on them and deploy it the next day as best we can.
Are you, the beneficiary of venture capital? Are you in a space where you're expanding your customer base to the point where you might be acquired or acquire someone else or go public?
Well, it's interesting you say that. We have raised capital. We have raised funding to date, so we do have a very strong base of investors that have surrounded the company with both resources as well as intelligence. So to speak to that, we have the co-founders of Google Analytics, which is one of Google's most popular and important tools that they've built. So these are the co-founders of that company that was acquired by Google. They're investors and advisors in Xola, and it brings an incredible amount of intelligence to the company. We also have Stanford University as an investor. We have a whole host of institutional investors that bring a depth of experience as well as many other resources they bring to the table. We also have one of the earliest Facebook engineers who has a profound understanding of technology and scalability. And the list goes on. We have over 20 very impressive investors and advisors.
Well, this brings me to another question. You said Facebook, and part of your website suggests that you're actually going to market for me. Is that true? How do you market? Do you use social media?
What we mean by marketing is, so there's essentially at a very, very high level, our software would only be able to do two things for your company. It helps you save time, money, frustration, energy. It helps you optimize your business and run it more smoothly. And then there's the other piece, which is our software will help you grow your business. Now, some businesses don't want to grow. They're perfectly happy with where they're at. They don't need to grow. They don't want to grow. They just want their business to run more smoothly and have a little bit more free time, and they can focus on their customers and really providing the service that got them into the business to begin with.
I had that feeling with some of your videos that those people wanted to keep it small and just enjoy doing what they were doing.
Yeah, and some do, and we just want to be sure to capture that we provide the tools. We want to provide the tools, and we provide the tools that help you do what you want. We try not to force anything on our solutions onto companies if they don't need them or want them. So at a high level, we certainly have the tools to help you run your business more smoothly, and we also have the tools to help you grow your business. And what I mean by that is this. Everyone understands the pain in updating all of their social media channels to collect customer reviews and get positive reviews up on TripAdvisor or Yelp. And those customer reviews are probably one of the largest generators of referred customers to any small business, and they will all agree with that. And then there's also distribution. So, as a company, if a company is looking to grow, they want to generate, inbound leads from all the referral channels right to their website, and that's a way they can capture, 100% of that revenue as opposed to what a referring party would do. Now, at the same time, and I know that this is true in Hawaii. There's a very mature and sophisticated referral network there, and hotel concierges, resorts, and resellers are a very important channel for a lot of these small businesses to get reservations. And so we understand that, and so we open up our software to partner with distribution partners like that. So to a small business owner looking to grow, they can just open up those channels and get bookings through different partners.
Okay, so, but you're not going to affirmatively go out and place ads or send mass emails or anything like that. You're going to just put people in touch. Is that the idea?
Well, we are essentially the core booking technology that allows a business to receive bookings by any channel that's possible, and that also means. Distribution partners, or AKA marketing. These tend to be brands that market and help generate new customer leads for those businesses. Now, we're the software that powers that whole process. We're not going to go compete with anyone by placing ads or anything of the sort. For example, we have partnered with one of the largest companies in the experiences space. as a channel partner to help refer customers through those channels for the companies that want that channel to be open, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Moving on to the last thing, and you touched on it a minute ago, is the whole connection with Hawaii. Do you have any of these tourism companies in Hawaii? Do you have customers here? If so, what kind of customers do you have? And then I'll go to my suggestion about it.
Yeah, it would be interesting to hear your thoughts there. We currently are working with Extended Horizons. Eric Stein over there has been fantastic. Runs a really great business doing scuba diving at Lanai, and I've actually been over there and have done a dive with his outfit.
Because of fringe benefit, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. It's wonderful to I guess try the experiences out myself. And so we admittedly we've only touched base with a couple companies over in Hawaii. It is in understanding the full ecosystem there with Alldesk, All-Pro, and A3H, and the ecosystem there. There's a lot of the needs in Hawaii are, it's a more mature environment where there are a lot of moving parts, if you will. And so we're currently working on a number of deals over there. And part of the wonder of the joy of being on your program is to maybe make our service more known in Hawaii, and reach out and partner with more businesses on the ground.
Well, it strikes me that adventure tourism is not fully developed here. And some of those videos really were very, I don't know, they were enticing in the sense that they offered ideas for adventure tourism that would be very appealing, and that would be real fun. And I think a lot of people don't get into that kind of entrepreneurial activity because they're intimidated by the bookkeeping and the back office and the administration. And I really think in a given market, having the benefit of a program like the one you described would actually make entrepreneurial activities in tourism, especially adventure tourism, a lot easier and actually help to build an industry. So I think Hawaii, I'd like to see Hawaii be more of an adventure tourism market. I think there's lots of possibilities here. It's the right time for Hawaii to go through that phase and get involved in that. And I think it's the right time for entrepreneurs to form businesses along those lines. And it's the right time for them to use a company like yours to help them do the administration of it. So that's my reaction to the connection between Xola and Hawaii.
Well, yeah, I see it as well. And, although a lot of our imagery on our site suggests that adventure travel slant, we work with companies of all kinds, as it ranges, as I mentioned, the scuba dive companies down to, brewery tours or culinary classes, can be surf or kite surfing lessons, and a whole host of different activities. And I do think that, Hawaii is just flush with all of those activities. They're all over the place there. I mean, it's sort of a paradise for that kind of stuff. So pretty much every business that you guys have, over there would be a potentially good fit for our software.
Yeah, and our millennials, are just itching for entrepreneurial activity just like that. So I hope they're listening. What about overseas? Are you in Asia? It strikes me that if I wanted to go for a walk in the west of China, and somebody could offer me a good tour, one that would be American in style, one that would be fun, one that would be slightly adventurous. That would be a good business to use Xola for also. Are you in Asia? Are you in China?
We are not. We've really stayed focused on the U.S. market right now. There's just so many companies right here in our own backyard that don't have this technology, and I always like to exercise some restraint. That is to say, I want to do something really, really well right here, in full appreciation of what it means to go globally. It may sound great, like a great idea at first glance, but there are a lot of cultural challenges. There are a lot of non-trivial challenges to go internationally, and we have had a lot of inbound interest from companies around the world, and we respectfully have informed them that we'll be in touch as soon as we decide we're ready to go internationally. But I mean, to your point, our software is absolutely relevant on a global scale. We absolutely have a mind to go global and bring our software to other markets. And the question is timing on that, and so that will be very soon.
My last question, we're going to have to close here. My last question, I think I already know the answer to, Scott, and that is, would you ever consider going back to neurology? But I think I have my answer.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be nearly as exciting as this, sorry. That's Scott Zimmerman, M.D., a neurologist, also the CEO of Xola, Zola.com in San Francisco. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me on this show.
Aloha.
Aloha.